0 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Cold, open, and scene setting the South Indian Ocean. 3 in the morning. Somewhere beneath a moonless sky, the water stretches unbroken for thousands of miles in every direction. There are no witnesses here, no satellites positioned correctly, no ships, no eyes. This is where they told us it ended. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 12:41 a.m. on March 8, 2014, bound for Beijing Capital International Airport. It was a routine flight. Routine crew, routine passengers, businessmen, families. A group of Chinese artists returning home from an exhibition. The Boeing 777-200ER, one of the most sophisticated commercial aircraft ever built, was designed with redundant systems, multiple communication arrays, and near-impossible failure rates. It did not simply fall out of the sky. At 1:19 a.m., the co-pilot Fariq Abdul Hamid made the last recorded verbal transmission. "Good night, Malaysian 370. His voice was calm, professional. There was no distress in those words, no warning, no goodbye. 17 seconds later, the aircraft's transponder, the device that broadcasts the plane's identity and position to air traffic control, went completely silent. And Flight MH370 disappeared from the official record. But here is what almost nobody talks about. Disappearing from official records and disappearing from radar are two entirely different things. Several military and civilian radar systems across Southeast Asia continued tracking something that night. Something that moved deliberately, something that turned, and the governments who own that data have never fully released it to the public. 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the transponder silence, and the deliberate turn. When a commercial aircraft's transponder goes dark, it does not become invisible. Primary radar, the kind militaries use, still bounces signals off the physical metal of the fuselage. It still detects mass moving through airspace. The transponder simply stops announcing who the aircraft is. The ghost of it remains. Malaysian military radar tracked what they believe was MH370 for over an hour after the transponder went silent. This is confirmed. This is admitted. The aircraft, according to this data, made a dramatic and purposeful left turn, executing what aviation analysts describe as a professionally navigated course reversal, and flew back across the Malay Peninsula, up through the Strait of Malacca, and then turned again, heading northwest over the Andaman Sea. This was not a malfunction. Malfunctions do not navigate. Malfunctions do not turn. Somebody or something was deliberately flying that plane. Now here is where the darkness deepens. The airspace that MH370 crossed during this unannounced detour is monitored by multiple nations: Thailand, India. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands chain, a strategically critical Indian military installation, sits directly beneath the projected flight path. The United States operates sophisticated surveillance infrastructure across the entire region. Thailand's military confirmed they detected a radar return consistent with MH370, but they admitted they did not report it in real time because, in their words, quote, "We did not consider it a significant matter because we were not informed it was missing. They saw it, they logged it, they said nothing for 10 days. India's response was more troubling still. Officials quietly confirmed their radar in the Andaman Islands region was operational that night. Then they went silent. No data release, no official confirmation of what, if anything, they tracked. The question every investigator has been asking for a decade: what exactly did India's radar see, and why won't they tell us? 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. The Inmarsat data and the satellite pings. With primary radar data fragmented and politically guarded, the investigation fell back on something unexpected. An accidental breadcrumb. Inmarsat, a British satellite communications company, revealed that MH370's satellite data unit had continued sending automated hourly pings to a geostationary satellite long after the plane fell off radar. These were not messages. They were not distress signals. They were the electronic equivalent of a heartbeat, a machine checking in with another machine, exchanging handshake data, confirming existence. 7 pings, 7 confirmations that something was still flying. Using the Doppler shift of these signals, the subtle frequency changes caused by movement, Inmarsat mathematically projected two possible arcs the aircraft could have followed, a northern arc curving toward Central Asia, a southern arc descending toward the remote southern Indian Ocean. Authorities chose the southern arc. They chose it because the northern arc passed over countries with functioning air defenses and dense radar coverage, and nobody in that direction reported seeing anything. But this logic contains a buried assumption so large it staggers the mind. The reasoning essentially states, because no government along the northern arc admitted to seeing MH370, it must not have gone north. Not that it didn't go north, that no one admitted seeing it. Those are not the same statement. The southern arc led search teams to an area of ocean so remote, so deep and so poorly mapped that finding debris there would require extraordinary luck. 4 years of active underwater searching across 120,000 square kilometers found almost nothing. Several Laporan fragments and cabin debris washed ashore on islands in the western Indian Ocean, consistent with a crash, yes, but also consistent with an endpoint that could have been almost anywhere in that hemisphere. Critically, no wreckage was found on the seafloor in the designated search zone. The primary debris field, the one that would prove definitively where and how this aircraft died, has never been located. 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. The classified dimension, military assets and national security. Here is a fact that deserves to be spoken slowly. On the night MH370 vanished, the United States had multiple military and intelligence assets in the region. The Diego Garcia base, a joint US-UK military installation in the central Indian Ocean, operates some of the most sophisticated tracking and surveillance technology on Earth. P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, hydrophone arrays, satellite surveillance packages that can, under optimal conditions, track objects far smaller than a Boeing 777. U.S. officials have consistently stated they have no relevant data on MH370's final location. Investigators and aviation journalists who have pressed this claim describe hitting a wall so absolute it resembles something other than absence of information. It resembles the shape of information being withheld. Former airline pilot and MH370 researcher Byron Bailey wrote extensively about the military radar gap. His central argument, the Andaman Sea corridor MH370 allegedly passed through, is one of the most strategically surveilled bodies of water in Asia. Chinese submarines transit it. Indian naval operations monitor it. American signals intelligence covers it. The idea that a 200-ton commercial aircraft flew through this corridor for hours without being definitively tracked by at least one military power is, in his assessment, statistically implausible. Australian authorities, who led the official underwater search, made repeated formal requests to neighboring governments for complete military radar data. The responses they received were, by their own diplomatic description, incomplete. Malaysia released a summary of its military radar data, not the raw data, a summary prepared by officials, filtered before investigators could examine the original record. The families of those 239 passengers have spent years demanding the raw files. They have been told, consistently and across multiple governments, that full disclosure is not possible for reasons of national security. National security for a missing passenger aircraft. Ask yourself what a commercial plane's flight path reveals about national security. The answer, under normal circumstances, is nothing. But a flight path that passes through the blind spots of military surveillance networks, a flight path that exposes where radar coverage ends and where it begins again. That is intelligence data. That is the kind of information governments go to considerable lengths to protect. Which means that somewhere, in some secured server room, on some classified drive, the complete picture of where MH370 went may already exist. 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. The theories they don't want you to discuss, official investigations, have focused almost entirely on the southern Indian Ocean crash theory. Mechanical failure, pilot suicide, catastrophic depressurization. These are the sanctioned narratives. They are not without evidence, but they are also not without enormous yawning gaps. The pilot suicide theory has been advanced most aggressively. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah was an experienced, decorated aviator with over 18,000 flight hours. Investigators examined his home flight simulator, and found he had plotted a course to the southern Indian Ocean weeks before the disappearance. His personal life showed signs of stress, a marriage described by some sources as troubled, but the simulator data was recovered from deleted files. Reconstruction of deleted simulations carries significant uncertainty, and multiple colleagues and family members have described Zahari as a man who loved flying, loved his work, and showed no credible signs of suicidal ideation. The mechanical failure theory struggles against the deliberate turn. Systems do not turn aircraft with precision, humans do. Then there are the theories that